It's January 2001, and new residents to Arkansas go on an easy 1.5 mile trail at a local state park. The wife decides, this trail's not for her, and she goes back to the car. But when the rest of the family makes it back to the parking lot, she is nowhere to be found. Not a trace of her has ever been found, and she has not been seen since. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. And today's case takes place in my home state of Arkansas. Thank you for listening today. I'm very happy to have you here on this Wednesday, and I hope that your August is going well. So let's start. First of all, this takes place in the Ouachita National Forest. And yes, that is how you say that word. It's spelled Ouachita, and it's not Ouachita, it is Ouachita. So I grew up hiking in and around this national forest and the Ozark National Forest. And the Ouachita National Forest is very underrated and it gets a lot of hate. So let's start with the negative reviews. Someone said, not much time to spend, max 1 hour is enough. Someone else said, "Not that great." And then the last negative review says, "A lady disappeared from Lover's Leap Trail in 2001, never to be seen again. Watch your step in the woods." So specifically, we are talking about Queen Wilhelmina State Park, which is in the Ouachita Mountains. And that comment is why we're here today. We are talking about missing Gloria McDonald, who disappeared from the state park in January of 2001. But first, let's talk about the Ouachita Mountains. The Ouachita National Forest is the oldest national forest in the southern United States. It encompasses over 1.7 million acres, including most of the scenic Ouachita Mountain Range. 6 locations in the forest, comprising of 65,000 acres, have been congressionally designated as wilderness areas. Ouachita is the French spelling of the Indian word Ouachita, which means good hunting ground. So it's said the same but spelled differently. The forest was known as the Arkansas National Forest when it was established on December 18th, 1907, and then the name was changed to the Ouachita National Forest on April 29th, 1926. Sorry about that little sound. Hopefully that does not happen again. So let's keep talking about the Ouachita National Forest. The Ouachita National Forest is located in 13 counties in western and central Arkansas and 2 counties in southeastern Oklahoma. So, about 80% of this national forest is located within Arkansas, and then about 20% of it is located in Oklahoma. There are a lot of ranger districts in this national forest, like a lot. And actually, the Ouachita National Forest is far from the largest national forest, but it has 12 ranger districts, and that is the most in any national forest system. The giant Tongass National Forest in Alaska is second with the number of ranger districts, and the Tongass National Forest has 9 ranger district divisions, but the Ouachita National Forest has 12. So let's talk about Queen Wilhelmina State Park. So this state park is old and it's very, very beautiful. Admittedly, I have not done this same trail, the Lover's Leap Trail, but I have gone to the state park and hiked around this general area. Now, this is known for its lodge, and it also has a scenic drive that you can take, and it's called the Talamina Scenic Drive. And it's a little bit northwest of Mena, Arkansas, where we're talking about right now. The lodge, was built in 1898, and it was built on top of Rich Mountain, and it was called the Castle in the Sky. So the original one dates back to 1898. It's very old, it's very charming, it's very beautiful. It's the only lodge open on the 235-mile Ouachita Trail, which is a trail system. So it is very beautiful, and this just happens to be Arkansas's second highest peak. So a lot of people come here for the pretty views of the rolling mountains. Queen Wilhelmina State Park offers some of the most breathtaking views in the state from the fully renovated lodge. A lot of people come to do the National Scenic Byway, and it's very rich in history as it is scenery. Like I said, the original lodge was built in the 1800s as a Victorian resort named Wilhelmina Inn to honor the young queen of the Netherlands. Two inns followed the original castle in the sky. The latest inn is today's Park Lodge, which is the crowning attraction at Queen Wilhelmina State Park. Now, it's 40 rooms and it features a new look and modern updates, so it's been upgraded. There's a short walk from the lodge, and here is where you'll find the Heathercliff Heathercliff House. That's a tongue twister, which is like a cabin getaway for friends or family to enjoy. Now, you can enjoy Southern cuisine here at the lodge, at the restaurant. It's like popular, like a little weekend getaway trip. And it's just pretty cool. It's very rich in history. Furthermore, this state park includes 41 campsites, picnic areas, and trails that are open to both hiking and mountain biking. There are several designated trails that are mountain biking, and it's just kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been to Arkansas or like in kind of eastern state. The state parks are pretty, but they're a little underwhelming. It's beautiful, but it's just they're kind of like you can go and see most of it or all of these state parks in a single weekend. So, we are going to be talking about 68-year-old Gloria Whitemore McDonald. Um, she and her husband Daniel, who was 63, so he was about 5 years younger than Gloria, they had recently moved to Mena, Arkansas in the year 2000. Now, Gloria was kind of familiar with this area because she had grown up in New York and then Texarkana, Texas. And so she was kind of familiar with this area and she wanted to be in Mena. And so when her and Daniel married, which they had only been married for about a year in 2001, they moved to the small town of Mena, which is located in the Ouachita Mountains in Arkansas, just a few miles from the Oklahoma border. I actually have a friend from Mena, Arkansas, and I always have to drive through Mena when I'm driving from Arkansas to out west or vice versa. There's not much there, but it is growing. It's just kind of this little town nestled in the Ouachita Mountains. Now, Gloria did find a job as a news reporter for a local newspaper. So they moved there and she's like fully embracing it. She's got a job, even at 68. She enjoyed working. So she found a job. She's got a new husband. They're still kind of in that newlywed, like they're in their first year of marriage, and they moved to this little quaint, charming town in the Ouachita Mountains. Now, a little bit about Gloria. She lived an active life. She enjoyed aerobics, and she was very active in her church community. She exercised and kept in shape, but I want to note that she was not like outdoorsy. And during this time in January 2001, they actually had some family visiting them from Florida. So Daniel has a child from a previous marriage, and Daniel's son, his name is Sean, and Sean and his girlfriend Erin were visiting Gloria and Daniel from Florida. So this is a perfect time to visit Arkansas, usually, because our winters don't get super cold and we don't get a ton of snow, historically speaking. Within the last few years, it's kind of been a little wonky, but historically speaking, we've had Christmas Day that's like 70 degrees, you know? So they came and they decided that they all wanted to do a family hike at Queen Wilhelmina State Park, which was not that far from Mina. And so they decided on doing a trail called Lover's Leap Trail. So let's talk about Lover's Leap Trail. It's 1.5 miles and it's rated as moderate. I would say it's more easy, but this is a loop. And so it's paved with gravel and it begins along the north slope of Rich Mountain. It winds through a forested landscape rich with scenic beauty and seasonal wildflowers. And this trail is open to both hikers and mountain bikers. The trail leads to an observation deck offering a sweeping view of this beautiful area and valley known as Powell Valley and the surrounding Ouachita National Forest. Now, past the overlook, the trail descends along the mountain slope south, um, like the south slope, and it returns up the south side of the lodge. So it is a true loop. There's an observation deck on this trail. It's pretty easy. Um, the there are blazes on this trail, which is super common in Arkansas, trail blazes, and they are yellow. So you always know if you're on trail or not because there are yellow blazes on the trees. It's rated as moderate, but I don't think this hike is that hard. I've never done it, but just looking at the statistics of it and the elevation gain and the terrain, it doesn't seem that bad. But again, I have not done it. So the 4 of them, Daniel, Gloria, Daniel's son, Sean, and his girlfriend, Erin, they went out for some breakfast in Mina, and then they were gonna go take this little hike, about 12 miles north of their house. And the lodge was empty that day. This was a Friday morning, and there was just one overnight guest in the lodge. So only one person was staying at the lodge and a few maintenance workers and lodge employees on site. So not a ton of like witnesses if we're going to talk plainly here. It was off season for this park, so that's like a typical January day at the lodge. Most people are going to visit in the fall, spring, and summer. So they all arrived at the trailhead at 12:25 p.m., but about 150 to 250 yards down the trail, the group found several tree limbs and debris blocking it that were caused by a recent winter storm. So I actually remember this winter storm. I lost power for 7 days, and we had to put all of our food outside in the snow/ice. It was like an ice storm. A lot of people lost power, and there were a lot of downed trees. So Gloria was like, I don't wanna do this trail if there's, like, tree limbs and debris blocking the trail. Like I said, she was in shape and active, but she wasn't like a woodsy person. So she was like, we're talking 150 to 250 yards away from the trailhead. And she said, "No, I don't want to do this." So she returned to the park's gift shop and restaurant while the others continued onwards. And so this trail maybe will take an hour, maybe if that. So she was just thinking, I'm going to go back to the lodge and just kind of wait for my family. Now, this is her husband that's saying what happened. Okay. So just let me preface that with it's the husband's account. All right. You know how I feel about that. So around a half an hour later, the group was done with the trail and they went to the lodge and they couldn't find Gloria. It was like she disappeared into thin air. She wasn't there. The car was right there where they left it, still locked up, with Gloria's belongings still inside the car, including her purse. She was gone. She disappeared, within max 250 yards in 30 minutes, and she was gone. Oh, and let me tell you what Gloria looked like on this day. She was a redhead, and she was wearing a bright yellow jacket. So, easily recognizable, easily to see or something if she fell and needed help. She was in a bright yellow jacket, which is something that search and rescuers say that you should do when recreating outside or hiking is to wear bright, colorful clothing because then you don't blend in with the surrounding trees and rocks and stuff. So they showed up back to the car to the lodge and she wasn't there. So Daniel, Sean, and Aaron went back to the lodge to continue their search, but there was no sign of Gloria. They, of course, started asking the few employees that were there if anyone had seen her. Most of the employees had not, but one maintenance man said he did believe he might have seen a redheaded woman in a yellow jacket, which does describe what Gloria was wearing that day. So the family, of course, called police and they filed a missing persons report. And this is the full description of what Gloria was wearing that day. She was wearing a blue plaid flannel shirt, and then a glossy, bright yellow hooded jacket, blue jeans, sneakers, rose tinted sunglasses, a plain gold wedding band, a platinum ring resembling two balls intersecting one another, and a 3.5 carat sapphire ring, a necklace with a cross pendant, and possibly a small size gold ring. She weighed about 120 pounds and was 5 feet 6 inches tall. She also carried a Minolta Riva Zoom 90 camera, and the serial number was 40907 425. So she's got a lot of things on her person that are going to stand out. If I saw someone hiking or out looking like this with all this jewelry on for hike, I would definitely make note of it. And she also had a camera, which is something else to note because I'm not spoiling anything for you. She's never been seen since, so where did her camera and all of that jewelry go? If she, let's just say, like, maybe she perished outside, where is all that stuff? And why hasn't it been found? So the next day, January 27th, the Arkansas State Police special agents were called in to assist after being contacted by the Polk County Sheriff's deputies at Mina. They deployed search and rescue dogs, helicopters, and foot searchers, and nothing was discovered. There was no sign of Gloria anywhere. Now, the dogs did pick up a possible scent, which followed the paved path from beyond the lodge to a road. But it was there at the road that the dogs lost the scent. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, she made it to the road and then she was abducted by someone in a car. And I think that's possible, especially if the dogs lost the scent at the road. Now, like I said, Gloria had a job at the Mina Star newspaper, and she was actually a court reporter for this newspaper. So there was a theory that materialized pretty quickly on that someone she had written about had abducted her. But some friends reviewed her notes and articles to see if any clue might exist about her disappearance, and they didn't find anything. Gloria's family had a theory that she may have walked up on something involving illegal drug activities or something and been killed to silence her. Those are a little far fetched for me to believe, but I think anything's possible. Arkansas State Police Special Agents Lynn Benedict and Hayes McWhirter conducted a state police investigation along with the Polk County Sheriff's Department. Um, and I it's just this is such a bizarre case. So the sheriff's name was Mike Oglesby, and he said that only one room at the lodge had been rented, and there were about 6 people who worked for the state park that were there on staff, and there were a few people piling brush and cleaning up after the storm. So maybe like 10 people in this area that Gloria was in along with her family. Gloria disappeared without a trace in 30 minutes. Now, during the investigation, they didn't have a motive or any evidence. They really had nothing. One of the Arkansas State Police special agents, McWhirter, said that during this time, the bloodhounds searched all over the mountain and no remains were ever found. Quote, the bloodhounds followed a scent which led down to a paved road below the lodge, but they lost the scent at the road. There are no suspects and we don't know what happened to her. End quote. So, what happened on January 26, 2001, has baffled authorities and the entire state of Arkansas. There's many theories online about kidnapping, murder, and even a Bigfoot attack. Some believe that she just got lost and fell or something, and others believe that she might have left intentionally because her husband might not have been a super nice guy. Let's just say that, and we'll talk about that soon. Um, we don't really know, and police actually even wondered if she was ever in the park at all. So this is a little bit reminiscent of Kat Hammondtree's disappearance at Diablo Canyon. She was recently married. Her husband might have been involved and she disappeared within, 30 minutes to an hour and she hasn't been seen since. I'm finding like a lot of these cases are very similar to one another, and it's really creepy to me, at least. So, Daniel, who was her husband, he said to the press that he was the number one suspect, and he actually demanded to take a polygraph test. State police investigator Len Benedict confirmed that Daniel passed the polygraph test. But you guys know how I feel about polygraph tests, and I don't know if I would I don't know, Daniel complained that authorities questioned him too much before bringing out search dogs the next day, which is, I don't know, I can see why he might be irritated that authorities were questioning him, but I also think that statistically, like, we always need to look into the significant other or husband or wife. So, mm, I agree. So, Gloria's family at this time, they were sure that she was dead, and that is crazy to me that immediately right after she's disappeared, they're thinking she's dead. So, this speculation so soon after her vanishing, it really disturbed investigators, but the investigator said that they can't link anyone to a crime. This is what Daniel said. Daniel's her husband. In my mind, she's dead. I think she saw something she shouldn't have seen, so they took her. Or maybe she was snatched up by someone and tossed in one of these buildings. This sounds like a crazy person. And then, less than a week after his wife's disappearance, guess who decided he was going to move back to Florida? Daniel, which is really sus. He said, I don't want to be the guy in Mina whose wife was killed on the mountain. Which, how do you know that she's dead? How do you know that she was killed? And why are you leaving less than a week after your wife goes missing? Like you guys just got married. This should be like so happy. Not that she's disappeared, but you should be out there looking for her still a week later. But he didn't, and he moved his ass to Florida. Now, at this time, the sheriff said that he hadn't ruled Daniel out as a suspect, but authorities didn't have any evidence against Daniel either. So it's like a catch 22. And in an interview, Daniel said he couldn't imagine anyone abducting his wife, quote, for her body because she could not be considered pretty. I'm like, what the fuck, Daniel? I, I don't know what Gloria saw in this piece of shit. He sounds like a piece of shit. Gloria was Daniel's second wife, like I said earlier, and they were married for about a year at this time. So that is insane to me to move to Florida less than a week after your wife goes missing and you are like, she didn't get abducted because she's not pretty. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? I really don't know. So Daniel's first wife, she died in her home of natural causes, according to a funeral home in Chiefland, Florida. So I don't know. I just find this whole thing suspicious. Sean, which is Daniel's son and Gloria's stepson, said in a telephone interview from Florida that sometimes his father can come across the wrong way. He said about his dad. He's a great man, but he'll say whatever's on his mind, and he doesn't care what anyone thinks. And to that I say, well, that's shitty. That's so shitty. So Daniel's comments and fast departure to Florida were baffling and extremely suspicious to investigators. Now, Sean says that all three family members were interrogated separately that day after Gloria disappeared. And police actually took his camera and they found pictures taken the day of the hike, but there were no pictures of Gloria, which is also very suspicious to me. Sean said they were so focused on us, but we had nothing to do with this. You see this stuff in the movies and on the news, but this one hit home. So, like I said, there was that one maintenance worker that said he might have spotted a woman in a yellow jacket, but he's not sure. And authorities are saying that this worker was the only person who could place Gloria in the park, except for Daniel, Sean, and Aaron. So the fact that the maintenance worker isn't like 100%, it says to me, what? Is the family lying, or is the maintenance worker like, does he have something to do with this disappearance? I just don't know. So let's go back over this. The scent trail detected by the sniffer dogs possibly indicated that Gloria may have taken off in a car intentionally or by force, but there's really no firm evidence that supports this theory. And Carrie, Gloria's daughter from a previous marriage, said, quote, "The first thing I think is that more than likely she's dead. I know my mom. If someone did get her into a car, she would have mouthed off so much they would have had to kill her." End quote. So I just feel like if Gloria was on the mountain in a bright yellow jacket and she fell or got lost, she would have been relatively easy to see from the air, which they were doing air searches. And this is, I mean, it is a national forest, but it's not like the national forest out west. It's not super, super rugged in this area. And they scoured that entire mountain and they didn't find anything. And to also go along with that, all the leaves would have been off of the trees. And so it would have been even easier to spot Gloria if she had fallen or gotten lost. But no sign of her was ever found. The authorities didn't find any clues relating to foul play or that Gloria had intentionally disappeared. And I'm like, where could she be if she was never in the area in the first place? This is a very, very strange case from Arkansas. And if you have any information of the disappearance of Gloria McDonald, please contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office at 501-394-2511 or the Arkansas State Police at 800-553-3820. And there was a podcast episode that was done about Gloria. It's more in depth, and the podcaster actually interviews Gloria's family members, or at least one of them. And so, if you want to know even more about this case, you should go check out A Simpler Time True Crime. And this was released March 31st, 2025. And the title is She is Not in the Confines of This Park: The Bizarre Disappearance of Gloria White Moore. And go check it out. It's episode 47 for them. And in this episode, they actually spoke with, trying to get it pulled up here. So, Megan, the host, actually spoke with Gloria's daughter for an interview about the case because Gloria's granddaughter had reached out for Megan to cover it. So, if you want more details and to hear about Gloria from her daughter, you should go check out that episode. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad-free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.